Do you ever feel like you're defined by your pain? Like the hardest things you've been through are holding you back, almost like an anchor chained to your soul, keeping you stuck in the same dark water? I've been there. I know exactly what it feels like to believe that the damage is permanent, that the scars have shaped you into something less than who you were meant to be. But what if I told you that the very thing you think is your biggest weakness is actually the source of your greatest strength? What if that anchor wasn't meant to hold you down, but to show you the depths you could rise from? In this video, I'm not just going to share inspiring stories of people who turn deep trauma into their life's purpose. I'm going to give you the real practical steps to start that journey for yourself right now. Because your pain is not a life sentence. It is a starting block, and your story isn't over. It's waiting for you to write the next chapter. Section 1. The story of being stuck for a long time. My story was one I never wanted to tell. It just felt like this film reel of failures and heartbreaks playing on a loop in my head. For years, I was a ghost in my own life, haunted by a past I just couldn't shake. It all started with what I thought was the perfect life. I had a career that was taking off, a relationship that felt like a storybook romance, and this sense of certainty about the future that felt unshakable. I'd built my entire identity on a foundation of success and control. I knew who I was because I knew where I was going, and then, in the span of 6 months, it all crumbled. It started with my job. Corporate restructuring, they called it, a polite term for a brutal culling. My position was just gone. Suddenly, the title and career path that had defined so much of my self-worth vanished. I told myself it was just a setback, a challenge. I was resilient, but a crack had formed in my foundation. A few weeks later, my partner, the person I'd built my future around, sat me down in the living room that wasn't really ours anymore and told me they were in love with someone else. The words didn't even feel real. It was like watching a scene from a movie, totally detached and real. The shock was so profound, it was silent. There were no dramatic arguments, no plates thrown, just a quiet, hollow point exit that left a gaping hole where my future used to be. In the weeks that followed, that silence was replaced by a deafening roar of failure. The grief wasn't just for losing a person, but for losing the life I had so carefully planned. The pain was physical. It was a weight on my chest that made it hard to breathe, a constant low-grade hum of anxiety that vibrated through my bones. I moved into a small, sterile apartment that smelled of new paint and loneliness. My days, once filled with meetings and deadlines and shared dinners, became these vast, empty landscapes of time. I felt profoundly and utterly stuck. Friends would call, offering well-meaning advice. "You just need to get back out there," they'd say. "Time heals all wounds." But their words felt like pebbles thrown into a canyon. They just disappeared into the emptiness. The pain wasn't something I could just get over. It had become part of my identity. I wasn't just a person experiencing heartbreak and unemployment. I was a heartbroken, unemployed person. The pain had consumed my narrative. It was the only story I could tell about myself. I spent months in this limbo, this gray fog. I'd scroll through social media, a masochistic ritual of watching other people live the life I thought I was supposed to have. I'd see promotions, engagements, baby announcements. Each one felt like a small, sharp jab, a reminder of my own stagnation. I felt like I was watching the world from behind a thick pane of glass. I could see everything happening, but I couldn't touch it. I couldn't participate. My life was on pause, and I had no clue how to press play. The lowest point came on a Tuesday afternoon. I remember it was raining, a cliche I would have laughed at before. I was sitting on my floor, surrounded by unpacked boxes I had no energy to open. I hadn't spoken to anyone in 3 days. I looked around the empty room and felt a sense of nothingness so complete it was terrifying. The pain wasn't sharp anymore. It had mutated into this dull, pervasive apathy. And that was scarier than any agony. The agony at least meant I was feeling something. Apathy was the absence of everything. It was the quiet surrender of the soul. In that moment, I realized the pain wasn't just holding me back, it was slowly erasing me. Section 2, the turning point. I wish I could tell you there was a single cinematic moment of revelation, a flash of lightning that lit up a new path forward. But the turning point was quieter, slower, and much more subtle. It began not with a surge of strength, but with an admission of defeat. Sitting on that floor, I finally stopped fighting. I stopped pretending I was okay. I stopped telling myself I should be over it by now. I just let the full weight of the pain be what it was. I surrendered to the reality of being broken. And in that surrender, something unexpected happened. The roar of failure in my head quieted down just for a moment. And in that quiet, a new thought, small and fragile, appeared. It was a simple question. What if this isn't the end of my story? It wasn't a hopeful question, not yet. It was more like a scientific inquiry, a hypothesis. It didn't deny the pain. It didn't try to fix it. It just suggested that maybe this moment, this rock bottom, was a chapter, not the entire book. That idea led me to a dusty bookshelf and a book I hadn't touched in years, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote about his experiences in Nazi concentration camps. He observed that the prisoners most likely to survive weren't always the physically strongest, but those who held on to a sense of purpose, a reason to live beyond their suffering. Frankl wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." Reading those words, I felt a shift. It wasn't a huge change, but a tiny internal click. My circumstances had stripped me of my job, my relationship, my sense of self. I felt like I had zero control. But Frankl was saying that even in the face of unimaginable suffering, there was one thing that could never be taken away: the freedom to choose my response. I realized that for months I had been a passive character in my own story. I was letting my pain dictate my attitude, my actions, my identity. I had given up my freedom to choose. The turning point wasn't deciding to stop feeling pain. The turning point was realizing I could choose what to do with it. I could choose how to relate to it. The question then became not how do I get rid of this pain, but what can this pain teach me? What meaning can I create from it? This subtle shift from why is this happening to me to what is this asking of me was everything. It was the tiny mental pivot that changed the entire trajectory of my life. It was the moment I stopped being a victim of my circumstances and started becoming a student of them. The pain was still there, vibrant and real, but it was no longer my jailer. It was becoming my teacher. I began to see that the emptiness I felt wasn't a void, but a space to rebuild. a space to discover who I was when all the external labels were stripped away. The demolition had been brutal, but it had cleared the land, and for the first time, I started to wonder what I could build in its place. This was the real beginning of turning my mess into my message. Section 3, the framework, 4 steps to turn pain into purpose. That tiny shift, that decision to engage with my pain instead of running from it, led me down a path of discovery. It wasn't easy, and it definitely wasn't a straight line, but over time, I developed a framework, a set of real, actionable principles that took me from that empty apartment floor to a life of profound meaning, a life where my past pain is the very fuel for my current purpose. This isn't just theory. This is the map I used to navigate my way out of the darkness. I want to share it with you now. It breaks down into 4 steps: acknowledge, analyze, align, and act. Step 1, acknowledge and name your pain. The first and most crucial step is to stop running. You have to be willing to turn around, look your pain directly in the eye, and call it by its name. So often, we try to numb it, distract ourselves, or just rush through it, hoping time will magically fix everything. But unprocessed pain doesn't just go away. It metastasizes. It shows up as anxiety, anger, addiction, or just that general feeling of being stuck. Healing can only begin when you give yourself permission to feel what you're actually feeling without judgment. For me, this meant finally admitting, I'm not just sad, I'm grieving, I'm terrified, I feel like a failure. Naming those emotions took away their shadowy power. It turned them from a vague, overwhelming fog into specific feelings I could start to manage. This isn't about wallowing, it's about validating. It's telling yourself, what happened to me was real, it hurt, and it's okay that I'm not okay. A practical way to do this is something I call radical journaling. Get a notebook and for 10 to 15 minutes, just write. Don't stop. Don't censor yourself. Give your pain a voice. What does it want to say? What are the ugly, messy, inconvenient truths you've been avoiding? Let it all spill onto the page. By getting it out of the shadows of your mind, you start to separate yourself from it. You are not the pain. You are the one experiencing the pain. That distinction is the beginning of reclaiming your identity. Of course, if your pain comes from significant trauma, this step is often best taken with the support of a mental health professional who can provide a safe space for this exploration. Step 2, analyze and find the lessons. Once you've acknowledged your pain, the next step is to shift from being a passive experiencer to an active investigator. This is where you start to look for the message in the mess. It takes courage because you have to revisit the hardship, but this time you have a mission to extract the lessons. Ask yourself a series of powerful questions and actually write down the answers. Start with, what did this experience force me to let go of? For me, I was forced to let go of my rigid definition of success and the illusion that I had everything under control. Then ask, what did this experience teach me about what I truly value? Losing my job and relationship showed me how much I valued security and external validation. But the pain that followed taught me what I truly craved was internal security and self-worth, things no one could take away. Your pain often points directly to what you value most. Next, ask, what strengths did I discover in myself that I didn't know I had? I discovered a resilience I never knew existed. I found out I could survive my worst-case scenario. That realization builds what psychologists call self-efficacy, the belief in your own ability to handle what life throws at you. You survived. That's not a small thing. It's evidence of your strength. There's actually a name for this in psychology: post-traumatic growth, PTG. It's the idea that profound struggle can lead to positive psychological change, like a greater appreciation for life and increased personal strength. This isn't about pretending the trauma was a good thing. It's about recognizing that growth can come from the wreckage. Finally, ask the most important question: how can my story, my experience, potentially help someone else avoid or navigate a similar pain? This question begins to shift your focus from your own suffering outward toward service. It's the first flicker of purpose. Step 3, align your why. The lessons you uncover in Step 2 are the raw materials for your purpose. Step 3 is about shaping them into a clear and compelling why. Your why is your personal mission statement. It's the guiding principle that gives your actions meaning. It connects your past pain to your future contribution. Viktor Frankl believed that our primary drive as humans is this will to meaning, the pursuit of what we find meaningful. To find your why, you synthesize the answers from the last step. Look at the lessons, the values, the strengths. Now, try to complete this sentence. Because I have been through your specific pain, I am now uniquely equipped to your contribution. My own why became, because I have been through the crushing loss of my identity and felt utterly stuck, I am now uniquely equipped to help others find their way out of the darkness and rebuild a life of meaning. This statement becomes your North Star. It's what gets you out of bed on the days the old pain resurfaces. It gives your suffering a context, transforming it from a random, cruel event into a necessary part of your training. You're no longer just a survivor of your past. You're an agent of purpose because of it. Your pain becomes your qualification. Step 4, act and share your story. Purpose isn't a thought, it's an action. The final step is to turn your why into real, tangible acts of service. This is where you truly turn your pain into purpose, by using your experience to make a difference for others. It doesn't have to be some grand, world-changing gesture. Purpose is often built through a series of small, consistent actions. So how can you act on your why? If your pain came from illness, maybe you volunteer at a hospital or simply offer a listening ear to someone who was just diagnosed. If your pain was addiction, your purpose might be sponsoring someone in a 12-step program or sharing your story of recovery to give others hope. If your pain was grief, maybe you start a local support group or create an online community for people who've experienced a similar loss. The key is to start small. The first act of sharing is often the hardest. It might just be opening up to a friend or writing one blog post. Each act builds on the last, creating momentum. When you share your story, 2 incredible things happen. First, you help others feel less alone. You become proof that it's possible to navigate the storm they're in. Second, every time you share your story from a place of service, you heal yourself a little more. You rewrite your own narrative, casting yourself not as the victim, but as the guide. You transform your mess into your message. Section 4. Stories of Transformation. You are not alone. This process isn't some rare or unique phenomenon. It's a deeply human path that countless people have walked. When you feel lost in your struggle, it's so easy to believe you're the only one. But history and the world around us are filled with powerful examples of people who found their greatest calling in their deepest wounds. Think again of Viktor Frankl. He didn't just survive the Holocaust. He used that unimaginable experience to develop logotherapy, a form of psychotherapy that has helped millions find their own reason to live. His suffering wasn't just a horrific chapter, it became the bedrock of his life's work. But you don't have to look to famous figures. Think of the mothers and fathers who lost children to drunk driving and went on to form organizations like MADD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Their immense grief was channeled into a fierce purpose that has saved countless lives. Look at the world of addiction recovery, which is built almost entirely on this principle of people who've hit rock bottom, helping others find their way back. Stories like this continue to emerge. Take Allie Truitt, a competitive swimmer whose life was changed by a shark attack in 2023, which led to an amputation. That trauma didn't end her athletic career, it redefined it. She went on to compete in the Paralympic Games, winning medals. But her purpose grew even bigger. She founded a nonprofit called Stronger Than You Think to help other amputees afford prosthetics and find support. Her pain gave her a platform. Her loss shaped a new, profound purpose. In another powerful example, recent studies on the families of hostages have shown how this transformation can happen even in the midst of ongoing trauma. Researchers found that family members, while dealing with immense private pain, became tireless advocates for their loved ones. This activism, born from grief, gave them a sense of purpose that helped them endure the emotional exhaustion. They forged a new community out of a shared crisis. What all these stories have in common is a fundamental shift. The pain wasn't erased, it was integrated, it was honored, and it was transformed into a catalyst for action. The wound became the source of wisdom. These stories aren't meant to minimize your pain. They are meant to be a powerful reminder that you are not alone and that a path forward exists. They are proof that within your deepest pain lies the seed of your greatest purpose. The journey from pain to purpose is one of the most profound you can ever take. It's a path of courage, vulnerability, and radical self-compassion. As you've been listening, maybe you've seen a flicker of your own story in mine. Maybe a part of you is starting to wonder if your pain too could be a source of strength. I want to invite you to take the very first small step on that path today. This community right here is a space for shared stories. In the comments below, I want you to share just one thing. What is one lesson, no matter how small, that a difficult experience has taught you? You don't have to share the whole story if you're not ready. Just share the wisdom you gained. By doing so, you're not only taking a powerful step in reframing your own narrative, but you might be providing the exact insight someone else here needs to hear today. Let's turn this comment section into a library of resilience. And if this message resonated with you, if it gave you even a sliver of hope, please give this video a like so more people who are feeling stuck can find it. And be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We're on this journey together, and I have so much more to share with you. I want to leave you with one final thought. For a long time, I believed my pain was a sign that I was broken. I saw my scars as proof of damage, as marks of shame I needed to hide. But I've come to understand that our scars tell a different story. They aren't signs of weakness, they're signs of survival. They are proof that we've been wounded, yes, but also that we have healed. Your pain doesn't disqualify you from a life of meaning. Your pain is your entry ticket. It's the very thing that gives you the empathy, the compassion, and the unique wisdom to help others. You've been in the trenches. You know the terrain of despair. That makes you an invaluable guide for those who are still lost there. The goal isn't to live a life free of pain. That's impossible. The goal is to live a life where your pain doesn't get the final say. The goal is to build a purpose so strong that it can hold your pain, honor it, and use it as fuel. Don't waste your pain. It is the most powerful, transformative raw material you will ever be given. The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more people who have been through the fire and have chosen to come back to light the way for others. Your story matters. Your pain has a purpose, and your time to start discovering it is right now. Thank you for being here